Hello there guys, today I'm gonna be talking about upgrades. I want to make sure that after watching this episode, you're gonna have a proper decision making on choosing the upgrades that are good for your ship and your playstyle. Because, even though I'm giving you the recommended upgrades in each of my guides for a specific ship, I'm basically incapable of making a guide for every single ship there is in the game in good amount of time that will satisfy all the needs of all the people. So right here we're gonna go through every single upgrade there is in the game, including call upgrades and legendary upgrades, and put them into a very simple and everyone's beloved tier list to make sure that you have a very easy way of distinguishing what is good. Okay, but before anyone jumps into the comments and starts a civil war, let's quickly describe you the tier list. S tier is gonna be for the upgrades that are always good, meaning that you can just blindly throw them onto your ship and it's gonna perform. A tier is for upgrades that are strong, but requiring you to have some extra preparation, for example, a secondary build. B tier is for upgrades that are okay and are used in very niche cases. And C tier is for upgrades that are garbage and you're better off not running them at all. There is also another tier called Alt, and it's completely separate because it is for the upgrades that are alternating the ship's playstyle by almost 180 degrees. So I cannot just simply place them into any of the categories. They are pretty unique on their own, and they shouldn't be treated as better or worse than anything else. First, we're gonna go through standard surface ships upgrades, and then we're gonna move on to aircraft carriers, submarines, and ships like American battleships that have their own upgrade sections. For the first slot, we don't really get much of a choice. We get main armaments modification 1 and auxiliary armaments modification 1. And I'm gonna go and just straight up say that main armaments modification 1 is S tier. You cannot really get any bad result by mounting this. The auxiliary armaments modification 1 is gonna go the A tier, as it requires you to basically be focused around secondaries, which not every single ship is. For the second slot, we also do not really have that much of a choice. We have damage control system modification 1 and engine room protection. And the choice for both of those is always gonna be good. So I'm gonna give them both S tier, as the only thing that is the matter between picking one on the other is the ship class you play. For bigger ships, you go for damage control modification 1, and for smaller ships like destroyers, you go for engine room protection. Even if you switch them around and mount engine room protection on bigger ship or damage control system modification on smaller one, it doesn't really matter that much. Both are very good options and they are pretty cheap. For slot 3 is where things get a little bit tricky. We're gonna get main battery modification 2, secondary battery modification 1, AA guns modification 1, and aiming systems modification 1. For the main battery modification 2, I'm gonna give it B tier, because it's not like it's a bad option, but there is very little ships that need this, especially, so it's pretty niche upgrade. Secondary battery modification 1 upgrade, I'm gonna straight up give A tier. It's strong, but it requires that you want to focus around secondaries. As simple as that. AA Guns Modification 1. Well, this upgrade is going into the C tier. You're sometimes better even not running it. It's waste of credits in my opinion, as it only reduces the preparation time of the priority AA sector, which, as we all know, the priority AA sector is so useful. And last, we have aiming system modification. This upgrade can straight up go to the S tier. There is borderline no other upgrade that fits in this slot that is better. We also have torpedo tubes modification 1 for the ships that are armed with torpedoes. And this is gonna go to A tier. The only requirement is for the ship to have torpedoes and be focused around torpedoes. So every single torpedo boat basically runs this upgrade. Just not every single ship can. For the slot 4, first we have damage control system modification 2. Well, this upgrade, I find it very good for very low tier ships that are big, as those do not really need other options from this list, because, well, they are already slow, they don't turn, so maybe making them burn a little bit less is a valid thing. This upgrade is specifically good for the people that are brand new with the game as well, so for lower tiers it's pretty good. For everything else, it's not. So I'm gonna basically give it a B tier. It's niche. It can be used on very few tier 10 ships. But running it is not actually causing you any trouble. Then we have the propulsion modification mode 1. And I'm gonna straight up say that this is an S tier upgrade, as being able to accelerate much faster is great for every single class that is in the game. Then we have a steering gears modification 1, and this is going to A tier. I would actually consider giving it an S tier sometimes as well, as not every single ship can mount propulsion modification. For example, most of the British ships can't because they already have upgraded propulsion. So if you have already upgraded propulsion, it's basically an S tier upgrade. But since, well, many ships have to choose between propulsion and steering, I'm gonna give steering gears modification 1 an A tier. It's generally pretty okay, but requires commitment in the build, stuff like that. S-Track modification 1 is gonna go to the niche tier, as it's basically good exclusively on the ships with the damage bomb airstrike. You know, the Dutch cruiser kind of type. In every single other ship, this upgrade is absolutely dog water. Same goes for the DD variant of this upgrade, which is the depth charge modification 1, which basically just gives you number of charges plus 2, which is, I don't know even what they were thinking about this, because it's not increasing any damage or anything. So for the depth charges modification 1, I even would consider giving it an C tier. You better play without it. Slot 5. Well, first we got the torpedo lookout system. C tier, I'm not even gonna comment about this. Then we have concealment system modification 1. And this upgrade is, in my opinion, single-handedly the best one that you can have in this game. S tier. There's no way this upgrade is not the best one in the game. Concealment wins the most games in World of Warships. But I'm gonna contradict myself in a second, because then we have the steering gears modification too. And this upgrade I'm gonna be putting in the alt category. No any other category I think this upgrade would fit in. Because this upgrade is what makes lighthouse builds viable. Lighthouse builds, in case somebody doesn't know, are builds for very specific cruisers that are either based on very hard-hitting HE or SAP, and are built on principle of maximizing your damage and dodging ability for ditching all of the concealment. So you're visible from the moon, so you need to dodge and shoot. So steering gears modification 2 fits that specific build the best. This is why it goes to the alt category. And then we have ship consumables modification 1. And this upgrade goes straight to C tier. But for a second I was considering going into the niche, because you can technically think that it's gonna be good for ships that are based on smoke screens, that want to support the teammates, but we don't really have those ships anymore. And on those, it's still better to run concealment system. So yeah, this goes into the C tier. And in the end, we have the slot 6, which gives main battery modification 3, which is S tier upgrade. There is no discussion about it. This is S tier upgrade. It gives you what ships that are based on guns, which is majority of the ships in the game, need, which is main battle reload time. You don't even think about it. The small downside of lower traverse speed, you shouldn't even bother, because you're gonna dish out more damage on the range the ship is built to fight on. The only real alternative for this is torpedo tubes modification 2, which is gonna go to the A tier, because it only requires you that, well, your ship is focused around torpedoes. So for every single torpedo boat, you're just gonna take the torpedo tubes modification 2. Simple as that. Requires a little bit of commitment. And then we go to the Gunfire Control System Modification 2, which is basically a range mod upgrade. I see so many people run it because they think, oh, there is no downside to it, it only increases your range. No, that's the actual downside. Increasing your range on like 95% of the ships in the game is actually a downside. Because you're gonna first bloom on the longer range, you're gonna fight on the range the ship is not designed to fight, aka putting you at straight up disadvantage against your opponent. Honestly, apart from ships like Zao, for example, this is straight up nerfing. I see so many Des Moines class players, and this goes for both Salem and Des Moines, that just run it and think, oh, it's gonna be better. No! Your ship is still fighting within 15 kilometers, why you even bother mounting it? This upgrade goes straight up into the C tier. I don't want anyone to run it. I also want to note that the ships that should run it are like Smolensk, and the ships that would actually benefit from running it don't have access to running it. And then we have the auxiliary armament modification 2, which is A tier upgrade, because you still need to commit into secondary build. There's not really that much of a discussion over there. Okay, but now we need to go also over the upgrades that are for American battleships, because they have a couple different ones. First, they have a different slot 6 upgrade. Apart from having the main battery modification 3, they have artillery plotting room modification 2 instead of a range mod, which basically makes their main battery shell dispersion to be reduced by 11%. And this goes straight into the S tier, and I don't want to even comment about how important dispersion is in this game. Other specific upgrade that is only for American battleships is in the slot 30, which is artillery plotting room modification 1, and this one increases the main battery firing range, secondary firing range, and decreases the dispersion. And since it decreases the dispersion, it's basically a better version of the standard upgrade that does the same thing. Well, maybe not straight up better, but increasing the range on American battleships by like 16% plus decreasing of the dispersion is a very good choice, and I think this goes into the S tier as well. Okay, since now we've went through all the surface classes, we need to also give the same treatment to submarines and aircraft carriers, and I'm gonna straight up start with aircraft carriers since the thing is gonna be much simpler over there. Because aircraft carriers don't really get that many upgrades, and it's not really that complicated. For slot 1 we've got air groups modification 1, with a choice to go for secondaries. Since we already covered secondaries, air groups modification 1, S tier. Aircraft squadron return speed plus 20% is a very good choice. Slot 2, instead of upgrade for engine, you've got aircraft engines modification 1, S tier. What can I say? For slot 3, we've got choice between secondary modification 1, which I'm sometimes running in my secondary build CVs because I liked it. That's why it's also in the A tier in every single other tier list, and why it fits into the A tier. But then we have torpedo bombers modification 1, attack aircraft modification 1, and basically modification 1 for every single of the squadrons that the CV has. And what it gives is either time for the attack time, or for area torpedoes modification 1 we get torpedo speed. And for like majority of the ships that I have it on, I'm going for the torpedo speed upgrade. But honestly, all of those upgrades are gonna go to the A tier, because it just depends on what the aircraft carrier is focused on. For this slot number 4, aircraft carriers get their attack aircraft modification, torpedo bombers modification, basically the same modification for every single squadron that they have, and that's every single squadron that you can select and give it plus 7 and 5% HP. And I feel like all of those should also go to the A tier, because you need to basically make a very small decision on what is the main squadron that your CV uses, and pick that one. That's it. There's really no philosophy behind that. For 5th slot, we've got flight control modification 1, and that's gonna be the single-handedly best upgrade aircraft carrier can mount, because it gives you +2 of every squadron aircraft on the deck, and aircraft preparation time. It goes straight up to S tier. And for the safe slot, we've got flight control modification 2, which gives you extra squadron speed, or air groups modification 2, which gives you even more HP on the new squadrons. I would say that flight control modification 2 is better, and it should go to the S tier, while air groups modification 2 should go to the actually B tier. You would say that getting more HP on planes is ideal, but 7.5% is gonna be around 150 HP for majority of the aircraft carriers, which is for like tier 10 extra, not even a second within most of the ship's AA. So I feel like giving extra speed is gonna be more valuable, as well, a couple extra knots is gonna make you spend less time in the AA, which means you're gonna outvalue the HP bonus. Okay, now that we have aircraft carriers done, we need to talk about submarines. Submarines get very few of their unique upgrades, and we should go through every single one of them. For slot 1, they get the sonar modification 1 upgrade, which just makes so that when you take damage to the sonar, it's less likely to be damaged, but you're not supposed to be damaged in this class. So I feel like this upgrade is basically, you can either choose for everything else to repair faster or be less likely to be incapacitated, or just the sonar. So I feel like it just goes to the B tier. For slot number 2, they get damage control system modification 3, which goes straight up to the S tier because, well, you're gonna be poked a lot, you're gonna be flooding a lot, you're gonna be on fire a lot in the submarine, because everything that even near misses you, splashes you, will cause flooding or a fire. So taking less damage from it is much better than any of the other upgrades. We have also sonar modification 2, which gives you sonar ping velocity plus 10%, but in majority of the submarines you don't need it. Because for the submarines that have very slow ping speed, this will bottom line make no difference, and for those that have very high ping speed, well, you won't need it. So this thing goes to the C tier. Slot number 3 is, well, you get the torpedo tubes modification 1, which is the same thing as in destroyers, and that's what you're gonna be running. By the way, that's an A tier upgrade for every single thing that runs torpedoes, right? But submarines can also choose the dive capacity modification 1, which gives them recharge rate per second, dive capacity plus 10%. Which I'm gonna straight up put into the C tier, because why on earth would you run it over the torpedo tubes modification 1? It's just straight up being outclassed by everything. On the slot 4, you got the submarine steering gears upgrade, which is, well, in my opinion, straight up an S tier upgrade, because rudder shift time and diving plane shift time makes so that you can avoid and basically go undetected much easier. Submarines already accelerate pretty fast, so we don't really need acceleration in here. This submarine steering gear system, S tier. And now for the cool part, we've got the torpedo tubes modification 3 in the 5th slot, which just increases your torpedo damage. Which, in case you didn't notice, submarines are all about torpedoes. So it's straight up 7% upgrade to your damage. So S tier, I don't even know what else I would put it in. And reinforced bulk hits. This is an upgrade when you want to be a dick, because you don't want to die. But you're not supposed to take damage in submarine in the first place, so this upgrade goes straight up into the C tier. For slot 6, submarines get the dive capacity modification 2, which just gives them more time underwater. Which would be good if you didn't have the torpedo tubes modification 2, which just gives you more damage. So if you play it right, you don't even need to dive in a submarine. So the dive capacity modification 2 is going straight up into the C tier, because I don't want anyone to run it. Everyone should run the torpedo tubes modification 2, but also nobody should actually play submarines. Okay, that's been a very lengthy part, and we covered all of the standard upgrades we have in the game. So now we should move on and go to the coal upgrades. Okay, so coal upgrades are gonna be treated a little bit differently in terms of grading. We're gonna still use the same tier list, just we're gonna compare them to what other choices we have in the slot. And we're gonna take that the ship already has ability to mount this upgrade, because I don't want to put so many of them in A tier, because it requires that the ship can mount this upgrade, okay? Simple as that. Let's just take into the consideration that every single coal modification we're gonna be talking about is gonna be in the context this ship can already mount it. And has that as also the main build, right? Because coal upgrades are straight up upgrading your consumables, and that's it. So first of all, we're gonna go for the ones for surface ships. And we're gonna start with my personal favorite, Surveillance Radar Modification 1. This goes into the second slot, so we're not really losing anything special, and we're gaining 20% in duration of a radar, which is S tier upgrade for every single ship that is a radar based one. Basically, every single radar cruiser wants to run this upgrade. Then we got the Hydroacoustic Search Modification 1, which is, in my opinion, an A tier upgrade, because most of the ships that can mount this also can mount the radar upgrade, and the radar is just so much better than this one. But this is not a bad upgrade. It just requires that you want to commit around the Hydro build. So every single, for example, Hydro based DD that doesn't have a radar but still needs to spot ships, this is a very good choice for you. Defensive A Fire Modification 1, in my opinion, is a straight up C tier upgrade. Because, well, it just increases the action time and decreases its cooldown, but you don't really need extra action time, as most of the time aircraft is gonna be long gone before the extra time will actually be valid. That's first. Second, you're gonna be off cooldown on the DFA. You're actually gonna run out of DFAs if the aircraft carrier is gonna be focusing you. If you have the DFA. But most of the time the aircraft carrier, once it sees a DFA DD, will ignore it for majority of the game, so you won't even need the cooldown reduction, so sit here. Damage control party modification. This increases the DCP duration by 40%. And you will see what's the bad part about it. Well, For small ships, you don't want the DCP to last long, you want it to be off cooldown fast, and for big ships, you want it to last long. So for battleships, it's very good upgrade. For these, not really. So I'm gonna give it an A tier. It's strong, requires a little bit of commitment. Spotting aircraft modification 1. Basically just increases the duration of your spotting aircraft, so what's the matter there? Well, very often you don't need an extra time on your aircraft, it's gonna go off cooldown faster, you want to disappear, you don't want to be in this long time when you have it on. Majority of the cases. Also, I don't want somebody to switch off a radar or hydro consumable for spotting aircraft. Ever. Worcester players. But for very few ships that rely on having long range, for example, Hindenburg with its spotting aircraft, this can be a pretty okay upgrade, so A tier as well. Actually, I'm gonna give it a B tier. It's not the greatest, it's okay. Smoke Generation Modification 1. Well, this is a very weird upgrade because it goes in the slot 3, so it actually has a lot of competition between the upgrades that are very good. So this upgrade basically goes into a very niche builds that rely on smoke screens like Mudharuguma, for example, or SX really likes this upgrade. So CVs based on smoke screens and DDs based on smoke screens. Everything else, not really. So I'm gonna give it a B tier. It's a pretty niche upgrade. Then we have the Engine Boost Modification 1, and this is one of the upgrades that I love with my heart, because it gives you plus 30% on engine boost, which on ships that rely on being fast, such as all of the French, it's a very, and I mean very good upgrade. But it requires that you want to rely on the engine boost and not on something like a radar or a hydro. So it competes with other call upgrades in this slot, but it is very good one. So I would say it's straight up A tier. It just requires commitment into this specific playstyle. Then we have the two upgrades that are for submarines. Submarine Surveillance Modification 1, it goes into the slot 3 for every single submarine. And if it wasn't for that fact that this slot is already occupied by Torpedo Tubes Modification 1, this would be an S tier upgrade. But since Torpedo Tubes Modification 1, in my opinion, is far superior to it, this, I think, is gonna go to the B tier, and basically kind of build that you want to have a counter submarine build, which I think is not even deserving of A, straight up B, a niche upgrade. And last we get Reserve Battery Unit Modification 1, which is a slot 2 for all submarines that have ability to run this consumable and just increases it by 20%, meaning that you can maybe sit 6 seconds longer underwater. C tier. Don't we even want to discuss it? 6 seconds extra underwater? No. Okay guys, so now let's talk about legendary modes. And I'm just gonna go and follow up with random order of those and we'll see how it goes. First it's gonna be the Vermont's legendary mode, which is in slot 5 and well just gives you AA, airstrike, reload time and main battery reload, which might sound pretty neat, but you're taking it for slot 5 where concealment could go. So I'm just really gonna give it basically a C tier. It's garbage. Next we have an LB. Upgrade for slot 6 that gives you main battery reload time reduction minus 6%, so a little bit less than the standard. Main battery traverse speed plus 100%, very good for LB. Maximum ship speed when engine boost consumable is active plus 12%, which is really significant, but it decreases your main battery firing range by 8%. Overall, a very good upgrade. You can play Elbing without it if you choose to do so, but it's also a very nice kind of... If you enjoy Elbing, you really want this upgrade. I'm gonna give it an A tier. It's not for everyone, but it's very strong. Next is a legendary upgrade for Richthofen. It goes in a slot 6 and just increases efficiency of your torpedo bombers by giving you 10% extra damage, reducing the arming distance, and increasing their HP. And if this upgrade was for any of the IGN aircraft carriers, it will be single-handedly the best upgrade there is for aircraft carriers. However, it's for Richthofen, a ship that already has pretty consistent torpedoes, but they deal very little damage, so the 10% increase is borderline nothing. They arm very fast, so the 10% decrease in the arming distance is nothing. And they have very little base HP anyway, so this basically gives you borderline nothing. I'm straight throwing it into the C tier. This is the worst aircraft carrier legendary mod. Next we have a Holland upgrade, which goes also in the slot 6, so instead of torp reload upgrade. And it gives you extra heal, FAA and engine boost, increases the maximum ship speed during the engine boost by 8%, and increases the efficiency of the heal. And I'm like, yeah, sure, it gives you a lot of things, but why would you run it instead of focusing on torpedoes in a torpedo boat? So I'm fairly sure this should go into the C tier. It's basically bait. And don't even tell me about, well, I can build my Holland into gunboat. Buddy, if you want a gunboat Holland, there's a Ragnar over there. It has bigger guns, it's faster, it's similar hull, but it also has a radar, stuff like that. Holland is torpedo boat and kind of bad at this time. Next we have a Venezia legendary mod, and I'm gonna say that this legendary mod is very good, even though it goes in a slot for concealment, but it's very good in a lighthouse build Venezia. So I'm gonna give it an A tier because it requires you to basically run a lighthouse build. Not really, but to be the most effective one, you need lighthouse build for it. Then it's very good upgrade, because in lighthouse build you don't care about concealment anyways. Smoke screens are more efficient way of, well, increasing your survivability. For a standard build Venezia, it's also pretty okay. I would still prefer to go for concealment, as, well, normally going dark, I think it's better than using a smoke screen. But it's okay alternative, basically based on preference. Now we go for another legendary mod for aircraft carrier, for Audacious. And again we're going to meet a garbage legendary mod, because decreasing the concealment on the aircraft carrier is worthless. Like, you're not supposed to be shot at, or be close enough to be detected anyway. So 50% decrease, even if it was a 50% decrease, it wouldn't be worth it. Especially if you cannot take the 6th slot upgrade as a trade-off. It's actually making this in a C tier, in my opinion. Your planes are more than fast enough for you to actually reach anything on the map, so you don't really need to be closer. Especially on tier 10 when everything can just one-shot you. Next we have a Daring legendary mod, and it goes again for concealment upgrade. But it in itself also decreases your concealment. It increases the efficiency of your torpedoes while decreasing efficiency of your main battery. I would say that this goes into a B tier, as I find it a little bit worse than running a standard build Daring. And why so? Because I think currently in World of Warships, using your guns is much more efficient than using your torpedoes. Especially on a ship with such a low main battery caliber and so little range on the torps. I think Daring fits more into the hybrid gunboat rather than hybrid torp boat category. But if somebody wants to give it a try, it's not absolutely dog water upgrade. It changes a little bit of a playstyle, and I think that there will be few people that will enjoy it. This is why I'm throwing it to the niche category, because it's not the greatest, it's not requiring special build, it's just there are few people that might enjoy it more. Next we have yet another legendary mod for aircraft carrier, and yet another that is absolute garbage. It, for whatever reason, goes into the slot 6, according to this. And I don't know who designed this upgrade to be this way, but buddy, having a legendary upgrade in the slot 6 for aircraft carrier that has a trade-off and just increases the maximum squadron speed by 12% is not really right in the mind. This goes straight up into the C category. It's absolute garbage. If it was in slot 1 or 2, you might actually consider it as a pretty good upgrade, but slot 6, no way. Next we have a Harugumo legendary upgrade, and this I'm gonna straight up, you're not even gonna describe it, A tier. Because it gives you extra smokescreen duration, and the consumable duration time, and also decreases your main battery reload time. It goes for a slot 5, so you're gonna be visible much easier, which is not to my preference, but for clan battles it's very effective. For playing in divisions is really damn effective, and if you prefer a little bit more farming build, this is perfect. I was considering giving it an S tier, but at the same time I feel like not everybody should just throw it in blindly, because first you want to kind of get along with the ship, so I think the concealment is also a very good option. Especially if your whole idea of playing Harugumo is hunting down enemy DDs, which is what I love to do, especially to bully the Klebers, because you're the one thing that can actually really easily outgun them. Next we have a Kleber legendary mod, and this goes into the alt category, because it completely flips how Kleber is being played, as it decreases your ship's concealment by a lot, whilst increasing the main battery reload time, meaning that you're basically turning into a very fast stealth torp boat, something of alternate version of Cassard. Your guns are still pretty useful, but not gonna be your main source of damage with this build. They're gonna be your way of 1v1 fights with enemy destroyers when you're gonna be detected. Otherwise, you're gonna be focused on torpedoes with this build. It's a very interesting thing, especially if you have the Kleber CLR, meaning that you can have a standard and special build Kleber. Next we have a leg mod for Kremlin. Well, this increases your ship's consumables, decreases the main battery firing range, and decreases the main battery reload time by extra 50% compared to normal. So you get minus 80% main battery reload time instead of minus 12. You also don't get the traverse penalty, not like Kremlin will fill it anyway. I'm gonna give it an A tier, as it's not really the meta pick, but it's on paper really strong. It's just that pushing ships currently, if they are not a Libertad, they're not that strong. So the moment Kremlin's armor or HE will be either Kremlin's armor is gonna be buffed or HE is gonna be nerfed, so that you can actually, push like good old days with Kremlin. This upgrade is gonna be really damn good. Otherwise, not really. I'm gonna throw it into a A tier, but a little bit closer to the B tier. Next we have a Grozovil leg mod, which is going in a slot 6, and well, it increases your concealment slightly, decreases your main battery reload time by a ton, and decreases your main battery traverse speed as well, which is really damn good, especially if you want to play as more of a damage farmer rather than stealthy support DD. I'm giving it, in my opinion, an S tier. Next we have a Yu Yang, and I think that this should go into the... I was thinking about giving it an alt category, because it basically is a straight up make it a gunboat DD with a radar build, but I feel like it should go into the A category, because A tier will fit it the best, as it requires you to run the radar build, because I don't believe somebody will just get it for farming in the smoke screen. But it's also very, very strong upgrade. I still prefer my Yu Yang to be torp boat though. So I'm split between alt and A, but I think I'm gonna go for A in the end. Next we have a gearing legendary mod, which just decreases the concealment, makes you a little bit better turbo on the price of having your main battery being nerfed. So I would say that this upgrade is basically what if you want to play a Shima that's American. That's it. Honestly, I'm giving it also an A tier. Yes, there's gonna be a lot of upgrades in A tier, but it's basically just a preference if you want to play more stealthy gearing with a little bit less DACA, or a little bit less stealthy gearing with more DACA and still very good torpedoes. It's not really a big deal based on preference. Next we go for a Z52. legendary mod, which makes basically the same thing, makes you a little bit better at, well, firing your torpedoes, whilst actually giving you less concealment than the normal upgrade on the slot, which on contrary to gearing, I'm gonna give a C tier. This upgrade is gonna make you suffer more. Why so? Why compared to gearing this is bad? Because Z is not the design, it's not designed to have good torpedoes in general. Those torps are supposed to be like okay, nothing special. They are not like super long range stealth gearing torps. They just do their job and that's it. But Z is a very good ship when it's using guns, and it already has pretty big concealment that is not compensated by the hydro. So having 6.1 concealment and 6 km hydro is pretty good, but if you have any bigger concealment, you're gonna have a lot more problems, especially since your torpedoes are only 10.5. So this is just gonna make you suffer more. Next we have a Worcester upgrade, which goes into the slot number 6 and is straight up bait because, well, yes, I know that ship consumable population in reload time minus 20% and extra heal radar and hydro and FAA sounds pretty neat, but you're taking away your reload for it. The priority AA sector population times reduction is worthless, by the way. And so you're basically taking what's Worcester known of for getting a lot of damage per minute, DPM, for having that one extra consumable that you're probably still not gonna use, apart from maybe heal, because having 4 long duration radars is more than enough, and CV is not really gonna drop you time after time. It's not like you also need the FAA to actually deplane a CV in a Worcester. So this is straight up bait. Next we have a Des Moines upgrade, which was supposed to make Des Moines viable on open waters, but we all know what happens to all Des Moines on open waters in these days with everything overmatching 30mm of armor, 31mm of armor very often with 457s. So you're just gonna get yourself exploded in no time, so I'm gonna give it a B tier out of the fact that it's... I know a couple people that can make it work, but it's... You need to be really good at Des Moines and really good at this particular playstyle to exchange your reload for this. That's my opinion on it. So I'm gonna give it the niche tier. Next we have a minus legendary upgrade that's basically, let's just make it a crawling smokescreen. It goes in the slot 5, it's slightly worse than your concealment, but it doesn't matter since you're supposed to be sitting in the smoke permanently. And let's just say, I hate playing Mino with smokescreen. I find my Mino to be pretty effective DD hunter with stealth 54-second 10km radar. But at the same time, I cannot just say that this is a bad upgrade. It's a very strong upgrade. I'm gonna give it an A tier. It only says that you need to run smokescreen for it to work. That's it. That's the only requirement. You don't even need skill. You're just sitting in smoke like a little girl and farm people, which I find to be a very low level of brain activity requirement to play this. But if somebody likes being a little bitch and sit in a smoke screen, whole game and just hold the leftmost button on people, yeah, this is your go. Next we have a leg mod for Henry, which goes in slot 5 for concealment, and it improves your main battery instead. Which I find as one of the single-handedly best upgrade for Lighthouse build. Again, so it goes into the same tier as the Venetias. I was thinking about giving it a alt, but let's just say that it also is viable in normal build, so A tier. A lot of upgrades in A tier. Now we have Hindenburg's upgrade for slot 5, which on a cost of concealment makes you a little bit more durable. Which I'm gonna say it's straight up a B tier upgrade because it's can be used by some people in the Lighthouse build, but it's not as strong as the ones for Venezia or Henry. So I'm just gonna say B tier. It's okay. It's not the greatest though. Next we have a Zao's legendary upgrade for slot 6, and I'm gonna straight up say it's a S tier upgrade as it decreases your main battery dispersion and gives you a little bit extra range. As usually I'm not really fond of upgrades that gives you extra range on main battery, however Zao really needs it as it's a pretty old ship, and the extra dispersion you get is also gonna make your Zao's guns very effective. S tier. Next we have a Montana's legendary upgrade, which also just on the cost of concealment makes you a little bit more durable. And I'm gonna straight up say C tier. Why? Because you don't really need the fire extinguishing and flooding recovery time these days instead of concealment. Concealment is just much more valuable. If this would give you extra heal or upgrades to heal, that would be worth it, but it doesn't. It's a straight up bait. Next we have an upgrade for Grasser Kefest, KGGK. It goes in the slot 6, and I find it an S tier upgrade as it basically does what this ship needs, which improves secondaries, which is like the main source of damage on this ship. Yes, it decreases your main battery firing range by a bit, but you still just want to get close on the GK. So this is an S tier upgrade in my honest opinion. Next we have an upgrade for Republic, and it goes in the slot 6, and it would be a very weird one, as it decreases your main battery reload time even further on the cost of you burning and flooding for a lot more. Well, not really. Flooding is not really gonna happen, but you're gonna burn a lot more. And Republic is already not really that tanky. We can say that this is pretty valid for randoms when you're not really gonna be tanking with Repu. And I would kinda agree with you. This is why I'm also gonna give it an A tier. It's very close to S, but I'm gonna keep it in A, just so people don't think that this is something they must get. This is something for advanced people that know that they can pull it off with the extra penalty on fires and floods. Next we have an upgrade for Conqueror, and it also is on a cost of concealment and just makes your rudder steering gears better by your travel slightly better, and your steering gets repaired faster. Also your guns are turning slightly better. Your acceleration is already upgraded by default, but well, I'm gonna say this is a C tier upgrade just because concealment is just much more valuable. Like, you're just much better to go dark, turn your turrets the other way if you need to, and then open fire later. You're gonna have time to heal back up, reposition yourself. What can I say? Your radar also is not really gonna be damaged unless you're gonna eat a torpedo, but in that case you're gonna DCP anyway because, well, it's probably gonna be your engine gun as well and a couple floodings. So if you eat torpedoes, you're probably losing like half of your HP anyway. So you're probably kinda dead. You would need to go dark. Okay, now for the remaining 8. Colombo leg mod, which, even though it got heavily nerfed by giving the penalty of -2 smoke screens, is an S tier upgrade, as having dispersion reduced and main battery reload time not as much reduced as running reload mod on this ship is just straight up broken, and this ship is meta slave ship, so this is an S tier upgrade still. Next we have a ship-to-shore radio upgrade for Good and Lu, which got reworked recently, and now it increases the number of airstrikes, X-strike range, and HE bomb damage instead of decreasing the cooldown, which I still find it pretty good, especially when combined with the Dutch captain. So I'm straight up gonna say it's an S tier upgrade. I mean, you don't really need to get it, but it increases the performance of the ship by a lot. Next we have a Petropavlovsk upgrade, which after a slight refit I find in an S tier upgrade, and I personally love it, as it increases your main battery AP damage, which is your main source of damage, and decreases your main battery share dispersion by 10%, basically making it a on-release pre-nerf Petro, on a cost of a quarter of your consumable action time, which is not really that visible when you have a call mode for a radar. For the Hydro is also not really that visible. It's mostly taking part in your heal, which can be compensated by running the flags that will slightly increase it. It's still going to be a little bit less than normal, but good. And the Kuznetsov captain can totally mitigate that drawback. So you're basically getting a lot of upside for a little bit of a drawback if you're good enough. So straight up S tier. Next we have a Midway legendary upgrade. It goes in the slot 6, and for once it's a very good leg mod for aircraft carrier, as it increases the efficiency of your most valuable squadron, the dive bombers. It gives them extra speed and bomb damage, and since most of your damage comes from the dive bombers on Midway, this is a very good alternative to the normal slot 6 upgrade. So I'm giving it an S tier. Next we have a Shimakaza leg mod, which further decreases your torp tube reload time on a standard cost of having it more likely to be incapacitated, but most importantly decreasing the tube traverse speed, which I'm gonna say it's very bad for clan battles, but very good for randoms, because in randoms you can pre-plan when the enemies are gonna go, you have your allies that are basically a meat shield for you, and you're gonna be focused more on torping rather than strategy and stuff. So for randoms, it's basically an S tier. For anywhere else, it's not really that good. aka I'm gonna give it an A tier, just because, well, it requires you to know when you're gonna be using your Shima. Next we have a Khabarovsk legendary mod, which is the only way the Khabarovsk can actually get more main battery range, because it cannot mount a range mod, which is very sad, as this is one of the few ships that actually need it. And it also gives you extra main battery reload time, but on a cost of 20% of the duration of your consumables, which is gonna be engine boost and heal. Don't ever run smoke on Khabarovsk, unless it's basically a clan battle strategy, but really. Anyway, this is a S tier upgrade, as Khabarovsk basically needs it to be viable in the randoms, unfortunately. Next we have a Moskva's legendary upgrade, which is my personal favorite of all upgrades. It makes your Moskva even more accurate, while also giving you a slightly boost in range on just cost of main battery traverse speed, which is not really gonna hurt you, as you're gonna be sitting bow into the enemy anyway, because you need to be angled. I believe you're angled today. Okay, S tier. And the best for the last, a leg mod for Yamato, which is basically the same thing, apart from the fact that it doesn't give you extra range. It just decreases your main battery dispersion on the cost of traverse speed. And I'm just gonna straight up say this is an S tier upgrade. I don't know what else to tell you. It makes your sniper very accurate over matching battleship even more accurate, so yeah, it's just good. S tier. And that would be it for the tier lists of upgrades in World of Warships. I hope this video will help you choose how to upgrade your ship in the future without having to look up for a guide. But obviously, look up for a guide for a ship. Mine, not mine, anywhere is gonna make it much easier for you to play it. Remember to like and subscribe if you want more of those videos. Also, if you have any questions or want to suggest a topic for future video, comment section is yours as always. It's been Senpai Silent. See you next time.